Hey friends, this is Marilyn from tarotclarity.com, and I'm still down the Sola Busca rabbit hole, part 5. But this one will be brief because I'm not making a whole lot of progress now. I've already done in videos 1, 2, 3, and 4 my responses based on what I know. I didn't do any research at that stage at all. And I'm just looking at the cards at face value and from what I can piece together from my humble tarot understanding. And that's basically how I'm approaching this video as well, except that I've expanded a little bit. I have watched a few videos that were suggested to me by one of my viewers. The videos by Mary Beard, who is a Cambridge authority on ancient Rome. So it was a good start. Plus I purchased her book, SPQR, which I've perused, but I haven't sat down and read it in earnest yet, but I'm going to probably be taking care of that today. But I no sooner got SPQR. Of course, in my mind, I was curious about what SPQR stood for. And when I looked it up, it kind of made reference to the fact that it was sort of like a stamp that was put on things Roman to let people know that it was Roman, like coins or, maybe markers, something like that. Interestingly, I did discover SPQR on a few of the Sola Busca cards, which we already know is about ancient Rome, but I'm making a connection anyway. Now, there may be more occasions of SPQR appearing in the deck. This one was on the Triumph card number 7. And this one was on the 7 card. Oh no, this is 12, excuse me. Number 12. Carbone, the card for even, well, the card that means charcoal or night or, whatever. And then we have the moon there. And I discussed this in my other video, one of my other videos. And then we have it in card 7 of this swords, SPQR. So I don't know why SPQR would appear on those particular cards, but it might be something to look into. Another thing that I was starting to see a lot of was the MS. Now, I just did a Google search and said, what does MS stand for in the Sola Busca? And what I did find was that the MS does appear on a few cards, and I observed that it appears on 3 of the aces. And the consensus out there seems to be that it might stand for Marin Sanudo, who was a consigliere to the d'Este family. So he was kind of like their advisor, which may be true. But it occurred to me that if credit is being given to Mattia Serrato de Casandola, who was an artist from Ferrara, might it not be his initials, Mattia Serrata? Maybe, we do know that, the tarot card creators did put their name on the cards. And the MS may appear on other cards, but those are the only 3 that I found. And interestingly, they're on the aces. And I don't see the MS on the ace of coins or discs. It's only on the swords, the batons, and the cups. I don't know why the consigliere might have, I don't know why the consigliere's initials would have appeared on the aces, being the advisor to the family. When it seems to me that if there's a artist who is believed to have created this deck named Mattia Serrata, I don't know, maybe to me it sounds like it's probably his initials maybe. And then another thing that I started seeing repeated, and I wanted to get to the bottom of it, and I did with my Google Translate, Trahor Fatis. And I'm sure I'm not saying it properly, but I spelt it into my Google Translate, and it comes out to be, I am drawn by fate. And I have found it appearing 3 times in the deck, and I went through the deck like four or 5 times, and it's the only 3 times I found. And in 2 of these times, well, in the one card, it appears in the Carbone card number 13, which may or may not be representative of death. Cato, I think, when I looked him up, I think he committed suicide because he no longer wanted to be under the reign or influence of Julius Caesar, something like that. I don't know if that's exactly what's going on in this card, but it's a possibility. But he does have a banner in his hand that says, "I am drawn by fate." And in this card, the same card, I discussed how it was the only card in the Triumph Order that had a star. And so there's like, rays emanating from that star. And then in the other card, one of the other cards, the Ace of Coins, which has a lot of words like servir, shipir. Well, I'm not even going to try, but it's not trahor fatis, and it's not MS, so it's something different. But it also has trahor fatis right here, and right near it, it's got that little star symbol again with like rains, like stuff emanating from the star. And the card, like I think the Carbone star, even though it had the sun, it also looked like there was a celestial event occurring in that particular star. So I looked up celestial events in the late 1400s, and I discovered that there was some kind of comet that passed through in 1472, I think it was 1472. So if there are like celestial events that are referenced in this deck, it could be referencing the celestial event that happened a few years before this deck was created. And the Trahor Fatis card for the Ace of Cups, I don't see any kind of celestial thing happening here at all. So baby steps. I'm not making a whole lot of progress, but baby steps, I'm starting to pick out words or repetitive things. In the 9 of Swords, the 9 of Cups, when I talked about it the other day in one of my other videos, I'm not sure if I mentioned this or not, but I was wondering if that, I don't know if I mentioned it or not, so if I did, I apologize. But yeah, I equate frequently the 9 of Cups with the wish fulfillment card. It's something I stole from Matea, But I wonder if that serpent kind of fella, is he not, maybe he's a genie, Maybe we're not so far gone in thinking that it's a wish fulfillment card. Maybe could this be a genie wishing like 9 wishes? 9 wishes, something like that. I also went back to thinking about the 3 of Swords, and we know what the 3 of Swords looks like in the Rider-Waite-Smith card. And when we see that card in the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, it's hard for somebody not to associate it with, something brutal for, that the heart endured or whatever. But I think, the discipline I've been trying to put myself through is to at least put myself or see these cards through the eyes of a Renaissance person. And when I think of a heart that's stabbed, now it's not exactly bleeding. I guess we can't say it's bleeding, but I remember my mother and all her mass cards and my grandmother's stuff, religious pictures on the walls. There was always a reference to the bleeding heart of Jesus. And so I wonder if this might not be a reference to the bleeding heart of Jesus, the bleeding heart, so that it's not so much like the way we might see it when we see it in the Rider-Waite-Smith card as being like heart betrayal or something that really hurts the heart emotionally, but rather not a commitment of faith, a reference to their Savior. I think that might have been how they might have seen it. I don't know. I'm just guessing. Trying to put myself in the place of a Renaissance person when they see a reference to a bleeding heart. So I'll be back with other observations as I have them. Let me just look through it one more time to make sure I'm not forgetting something that I might want to mention now. Oh yeah, there was another thing that I don't know if I mentioned it in my first video when I was looking at the Triumph Order, but it occurred to me at that point, and I don't think I ever mentioned it, that the number 13 card into the 14th card, because I lined them up so that I could see them in sequence. The faces of these two fellas look a lot alike. Now, they're not exactly alike. Their noses are a little different, but there is a similarity between them. And so I was wondering if the 13th card, which comes right before the 14th card, which is Bacchus, I wonder if there's a connection between these two individuals. I mean, could this be an irreverent reference to Julius Caesar? If Cato killed himself, if Cato killed himself, if my understanding of this person's identity is correct, if he killed himself to free himself from being under the reign of Julius Caesar, could this be a disrespectful portrait or irreverent portrait of Julius Caesar? I don't know. I'm probably way off, and there's no guarantee that those two faces are referencing the same person. But I wonder. I just kind of wonder. Oh, just a minor thing. Of the pages, 3 of the pages all have either a tassel or some kind of pouch dangling from either their belt or their hand or somewhere else in the attire. But the Page of Swords is the only one that does not. And it seems to be, well associated with music, which is interesting. I wouldn't, in my view of how I've been understanding tarot, I wouldn't just, typically associate the Page of Swords with music. I might associate the Page of Cups with music, right? But this Page of Cups is like brewing tea or something. Steam is coming from the top. That's kind of interesting. And then this guy's got a bird in his hand and also on the perch. I don't think from going through this deck now that I've seen what we call the minors or the pip cards. Excuse me. COVID is the gift that keeps on giving. I think I'm going to have a cough forever. It seems like if you look at the pip cards, because they're pictorial, and I mentioned this, I made a point of this in one of my other videos, whether or not we know the exact reference, we could probably understand them enough to read with them. I think we can make references. Some look more alchemical than others. Like this one looks like 5 swords and an umbrella stand, but I can't help but think that it almost reminds me of like some kind of flame, created by the tips of the swords coming through. But it also at the same time kind of reminds me that this is some kind of a cauldron and, there's some kind of, I don't know. I mean, I'm completely out in left field on this. But I think that there's probably a lot of alchemical references to this deck, and which I may not ever understand because it's not a rabbit hole that I'm terribly interested in, other than just superficially. But I think that the pip cards can be read if you think about it, or and like in the case of the Three of Swords, if you put yourself in the context of a Renaissance person, and my next thing will be to read about like the the early Renaissance, right? The early Renaissance, as well as ancient Rome, and come up with the understanding of where their heads might have been at for the representation of some of these images. At any rate, you know what? I would really appreciate it if you could tell me if you just want me to keep my studies to myself and not even bother making any more videos on the Sola Busca, or if you would be interested in hearing my thoughts. And they come in dribs and drabs, and they end up having like 30 parts to this by the time I'm finished. Just give me an idea in the comments below whether or not you really want to see me continuing with, bits and pieces as they come to me. Until next time, friends, peace. Stay well, be kind, and do no harm. Oh, give me a thumbs up, please. My goal is to try to get to 3,000 subscribers by, I guess, the end of the year. This is September. So I still have 3 months, October, November, December, 3 months to maybe get 220 more. I'm close to 3,000. It's a goal. It'd be nice to get 3,000. Please, if you've been following me and you haven't yet subscribed, please check and see if you have subscribed. Just make sure your subscribe button has been pushed. And please share me. Please just help me with the algorithms. I get maybe $20 a month from YouTube. That's about all I make. But it's something, and after 5 months, I get maybe $100. I can buy a new deck, and I can keep these videos coming. So it helps, and I appreciate it if you could do me that honor by just showing your support by subscribing, sharing, liking. Oh, definitely give me the thumbs up if you haven't already, and even an occasional cup of coffee. I'd appreciate that too. Bye-bye.